We got the soil test back from Minnesota Valley Testing, and on the pond we specified the pond right here, and they required 2,799 pounds of ag lime to cover that per acre. Right now it's 5.9, and we want to raise it to 6.5. So we got to bring it up that many points, 6 points. So that each one of these bags, if we can bring it up 1/10. To bring it up 1/10 is 2 bags. So we're going to need 12 bags of this granular lime to bring it up 6/10. That'll bring us in line with what the ag lime is. And the reason we're going with, I'd like to go with the ag lime, but you're going to see where we're going to put this at. It's not really conducive to try to get in there and spread it. This way I can get in there with the tractor and spread it with this lime. You can spread granular lime out of one of these fertilizer spreaders, but it's not advisable to try to spread ag lime because you run the risk of breaking off the agitator as that ag lime it becomes compacted in there, and then when you turn the PTO on, usually it'll snap that agitator off if you don't watch it. So if you're going to use this kind of apparatus, you're better off to go with granular lime. That way you're getting the same effect. We got right here what you're looking at is 30 bags at like $124. So there again, it's a give and take. If you don't want anything to happen, don't spend no money, then nothing will happen. But if you want something to happen, then you're going to have to spend some money. There ain't no two ways of getting around it. So success comes with an expense. So let's get to dumping that in here and getting it on this hillside. By the way, when we get down here, we're going to put 2 perennials in. We're going to go with the whitetail clover on top of the dam, and then on the back side, because it's so steep, we're going to go with the Alpha Rack Plus. And the Alpha Rack Plus, the reason we're going with that is because of the deep rooting system that'll really hold that bank in place, because it's a pretty steep incline, and if you got something deep rooted, that'll hold that soil in place. So, and it's not too early to plant your perennials. The frost is out of the ground, and it's dried out where we're going to plant, so it's not going to get a whole lot of compaction, and so that's why we're planting. Whitetail clover, Alpha Rack Plus, the window is from March 1st to May 1st, so we're right at the end of March, so actually we're right in the center of prime time. So we're about, well, this is the 27th or 28th of March, and so the March is about over, so actually we're right in the middle, which should be a prime time. The frost is out of the ground, and it's tillable, so let's get it done. Most important thing about food plots, most of you guys won't do, and then you get sort of half-assed results. That's because this is the plan, and if you don't have that plan in your possession, then you're just doing it by the seat of your pants. Today we're going to put the lime on. It's still a little wet back out here in this food plot that we're working on. But food plots aren't without expense. And if you skip the liming and the fertilizer, you might as well skip the seed, because you're not going to get what you're looking for. This is a 5-year field that we're planting here. So it's only going to be as good as its foundation. So let's get putting the lime on. You notice all the deer tracks in here?
puts out a slop, that's for sure.
Okay, we're out here. It's going to be 80 degrees today. We've got to get this moisture worked out of this field. It's going to start raining. Might rain for 2 weeks, off and on. I'll never get back in here. It's real critical that I get this moisture out of the center of this field and get this seeded today. We're trying to run the pulverizer over on it with 80 degrees today, 40-mile-an-hour winds. Dried up pretty good, but we got to get it leveled out a little better so we can seed it, then we'll run the color factor on it. The thing about this virgin ground, it's really soft. Got a lot of moisture. That's nice for growing a clover in it, but it's a heck of a time to get it worked up out of there. And it's going to rain for the next week. So that's why we're out pushing the cushion right now to try to get this done. Let's get on it, see if we can smooth it up a little bit and get the seed on. Now, I know a lot of you think this is a lot of steps. Successful food plotting starts on the foundation, soil preparation. You can do it with a lot less, but then you're going to have a lot less at the end of the day. That pass that we just went down through there, that's nice and level now. See how rough that is? That's way too rough for whitetail clover. It's got to be smoothed and firmed up like that right there. That's what we're going to do right now. Okay, the only way we're going to get these ruts out, see how deep these ruts are? There's a lot of moisture in there. I can't get them out. What we're going to do, we made a makeshift drag. One time we used a Christmas tree. This time we're going to use an old gate. We're going to hook a four-wheeler up to it because it's light enough, but we can't have the water will stand in these ruts. These ruts are 8-10 inches deep, just in this one area. A lot of moisture in there. Well, there it is. We're gonna put the seed on now. Got those ruts filled in. It's really soft in here. That's good. Good though. It holds a lot of moisture. But couldn't get it done with the tractor or the colopactor because it's just gonna leave too much track. So we'll crank the seed on. Yeah, sometimes you gotta improvise. You know, even with high tech, you know, some good equipment, you still have to go with some Yankee ingenuity. That big heavy log, that old ladder, and that old fence made a heck of a drag. Smooth that right out. We took you from when we started out this trash to the field. Now it's time to get Whitetail Institute clover. Let's sprinkle her on. We got it put on. We're not going to roll it in, we're going to let it rain it in. It's so soft I don't really want to put any tire tracks back in it. It'll be all right if it just rains. It's going to rain tonight, it's fairly flat. It'll sink right into that loose ground. Nothing more beautiful than that. Freshly laid out food plot. Took you along from day one. Nothing to smell of black dirt. And like I said, this is my recreation. This is recreation. You don't have to kill anything. You don't have to buy a license yet. But anyhow, they can't take this day's work away from you. Yeah, it's really nice to know you did that. Came in and did something where there was nothing at all being done. Well, this is what we were looking for. It rained exactly a ½ inch down here last night, and that's why it's so critical. When you got to move on a food plot, you've got to move. There ain't no dilly-dallying around about it. You had the perfect conditions to plant. Had you foregoed that, and you may not be planting on the weekend when you think because it's going to be too wet. The conditions come when they come, and you have to take opportunities of it. That was a perfect ½ inch rain. Now we're going to pan back here, and that's why it was so critical. I worked down here last night till a little 8 o'clock, a little after 8, to get this done. The conditions were perfect with this rain coming in. It's not a weekend venue when you think you're going to do it on the weekend, because that weekend may not be the weather pattern that's conducive to you to plant. So let me pan around here and show you. No water puddling at all on the field. Drained perfectly. You can see where deer, I seen that deer running across here when I came in. So it left its mark. But it was just perfect conditions. The dirt was working perfect. That innovation of bringing that four-wheeler down here with a homemade drag really put it, I mean, you couldn't ask for better conditions. Now I notice a lot of people are planting food plots, and they ask me, why do you go with Whitetail Institute product? I'm going to show you real quick here, real simple. You see that green field in the back? Those are huge alfalfa clover mixed fields back there. I will draw every deer back there onto these acre-sized food plots, because that's cattle forage, and if that's all they had, they would gravitate to those green fields back there. I'm straight competition with that to get them to come into here with the Whitetail Institute blend of the whitetail clover, Vantage and Insight. Were selected over 100 different clover blends, and this was the most digested and sought after formula that they came up with. Soil preparation is the biggest factor in growing a food plot, especially with this small seed. See how mellow and uniform that is? Very little or no erosion whatsoever, no standing water. It all soaked it right up, and we get some warm temperatures, that'll germinate you know, first on a perennial, it's going to have to grow its roots before you see the green. Now, if that'd be ryegrass and the temperature come up, it'd turn green in almost 5 days. But it's going to be a little longer with the perennial, because like I say, the growth starts underground before it starts greening up on top. I'm going to tell you why it's really important to plant Whitetail Institute clover. Number one, it's high in protein, and you see from the videos that they gravitate to it all year, even when it's groused down that. But a lot of people are planting agriculture clovers that are a mixed, a red clover, a sweet clover, and all that. The only thing that clover has, it has drawing power in an urban area. If you're in an urban area where that's the only thing that the deer are exposed to, they're going to gravitate to that, even though it's not the digestibility of it is not anywhere close to Whitetail Institute clover. But you can get away with planting that, and I encourage you to. If you're in an urban area where there's no agriculture fields that you're in competition with, fine, go for it. You'll get results, and you'll assume that they're really good results. But if you take that same blend out into the ag land, it ain't going to happen, folks, because now you got the same blend that's across the way that's too stemmy. The deer will not eat it. It was not designed for their digestive system. It was designed for cattle, even though they're both ruminant animals. The white-tailed deer is more finicky on what it'll eat, and it'll walk right through that clover, the red clovers, the sweet clovers, and whatever, because it's growing a lot of stem, and it loses, as it grows, it loses its protein availability. And someday we'll talk about what protein really is, but not today. But anyhow, go ahead and plant your food plots if you're in an urban area with your clovers that you're buying at the feed stores. I don't have a problem with that. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't make a damn bit of difference if I did have a problem with it. It's your food plot, and I congratulate you on doing it. But the whole difference is, if you plant that blend out where you're in competition with other clovers and other ag crops, you're going to see the difference. You will not have the magnetism that you will with the Whitetail Institute clover. They will walk right through those other clovers and come to the Whitetail Institute 100% of the time. I mean, there's no question about it, because it was designed, keeping this in mind, it was designed only and exclusively for the white-tailed deer's digestive tract. That's the difference in clover. They're both going to look green, but you ain't eating it. The deer are. And they'll tell you which one they like better. And they're going to go to the Whitetail Institute clover, even though it costs a little more money. But then you pay for what you get. But like I said, if you're planting in a urban area where you're not in competition, keep on doing it. You're going to have results. But by God, if you get out in the real world, in the ag land, it ain't going to happen like that. So that's it from the non-typical nowhere walk-in. Planting time is critical, and if you miss that opportunity, it won't mean that you can't grow your crop. It just means that you missed the best opportunity to sow your seed. Well, there's your proof. That's on the way of resurgence. It was 8 right down, and up in here it's got a lot of leaves in here. They're coming up through it. But food plotting, I don't know how many animals benefited from this, but just keep in mind, when you're planting food plots, don't get that one-dimensional deal that you're going to plant it for a trophy buck of a lifetime. You're not planting it for a trophy buck. Sure, that comes into play down the road, but the main thing is you're enhancing the total ecosystem for every critter, be it the rabbit, the turkey, and anything that eats food. You're making a dinner table for. But just don't get focused on that you're going to go out and grow a big buck, because all that could be setting you up for failure. So just keep in mind what you're actually doing on food plotting. Has nothing to do about killing and everything about growing.